Flosstube. Welcome to Many More Memories. I am going through a few things I received in the mail and the few whips that I have accessible to me today. And I'm trying to start some of my 2022 preparation. So I'm super excited. I received, I've always wanted to do a frosted pumpkin, and I had an opportunity to rescue a whip. So I'm doing, I believe it was a stitch along, and it was called Into the Jungle. Oh, it's so cute. So this is what it looks like. It's a whole bunch of adorable animals, and we all know how much I love all animals. And I'm obviously having Flosstube itchy nose. I've been dealing with some sinuses, a couple of back-to-back sinus infections, so that probably has a lot to do with it. But the previous owner has done a lot of stitching on them, and I am so excited and honored to get to blend my stitching in. And I love that they've kind of stitched in different places, so I hope that I'll be able to weave my stitching in, and my stitches that are not as pretty won't mess it up. So I'm hoping to get a few stitches into this, potentially to use for numerous challenge groups next year. And I really want to make it a focus because I would like to, I'm so excited about it, I would like to finish it. So this is Into the Jungle from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and I look forward to working on it very, very soon. The next thing I received, well, these aren't in any order, was the Laura Ingalls Wilder wagon sampler, and definitely going to use this for the Stitch-A-Gone Trail. Definitely going to work on this for that challenge group as soon as I find out which fabric I'm going to put it on. It's a small, like 5.5 by 7 when it's done. But it says, everything came at us out of the west. Storms, blizzards, grasshoppers, hot winds, and fire. Yet we wanted nothing so much as to keep on going west. Laura Ingalls Wilder, and then it has a wagon on it. So as soon as I get some fabric, that's going to be a new start, hopefully here before the end of the year. This was, I believe, this was a drawing that I entered for. I'm so excited about it. I have a lot of people throughout my life that are either from New England or live in New England. And so I love these Alma Lynn designs. And this is called I Love New England. And it has, some folk art kind of look to it. And then, of course, we all know I love lighthouses. So I'm not for sure how I'm going to stitch it. I'm thinking that I might take each motif and just make a little tiny small maybe on perforated paper and kind of make them for a kind of retro kind of tree looking thing. I don't know. But then I also love them how they're set in the two pieces. So I guess it's gonna depend on what fabrics I find that are gonna work best with it. But this is another one I want to get started sooner rather than later. I'm super excited when this came in. I used to shop from Current many moons ago in the 80s. They were a really big place to shop. and I got lots of cards and paper crafts. I had no idea back then that they sold cross stitch. So the first one is the Warm and Whimsical cross stitch Christmas cards. And the person who sent this is the full kit. So it's the fabric, the floss, of course the instructions and the color picture. So this is the little angel, and this is a little girl reading a book, and this is the teddy bear, and this is the kitty cat with the Santa hat. So the teddy bear is started. It's got like maybe 50 stitches in it. And then I have not figured out if there's two pieces that are started in it. I've not figured out if the second piece is the little girl reading the book or not. I need to go back through and look at the color key again and figure out exactly where that pattern is, what stage that's in. The second piece that came with this was a Rescue the Whip again, is the current critters. And so these are Christmas critters. There's one I'm going to cover up because it's going to be a gift from somebody who watches my channel. So, but here's a deer with a, I guess it's a, I can't tell, mouse, bunny. Wouldn't be a bunny in the winter, so it's probably a mouse of some sort. This one's definitely a mouse. Happy holidays. And then this one's definitely a mouse. Skating. So I'm going to assume that the deer one is also a mouse. So super excited, super thankful. I've been wanting to do cards, cross-stitch cards for the longest time. And this is going to give me an opportunity to really learn how to do them. I'm not going to get these done by Christmas this year, but hopefully if I can get some stitches into them, then I can make them for goals to complete for Christmas next year. Maybe I can kind of work on the Christmas in July sort of thing. Kind of trying to figure that out. The project that kind of symbolizes 2021 for me. I mean, I know that we're all still recovering from COVID and the impacts it's having on our lives. Excuse me, my throat is killing me here. And for me, it has completely changed my life. On one way, it enhanced it. I was able to do some camping that I hadn't done in years. I was able to spend some quality time with a couple of dear friends. And those are definitely, positive things. I've been able to take the time to go to a few of my doctor's appointments that I've been putting off, and it's allowed me some reflecting time. The flip side is it has completely hindered what was the main thing that was providing my joy, which was my ability to take care of others' animals in their homes. So, they would go for vacation, they would go for work. They might have an animal that needs care while they're, at work. So it's not like a typical dog walking situation. It's more of a pet and home sitting situation. And most of my clients had animals that were needy in some way, whether it was medical care or separation anxiety, or scared storms, or like during 4th of July, scared of fireworks. So situations where they couldn't just have like the neighbor come and drop food and take them for a walk. They needed something where someone could be there for other things. Well, COVID kind of stopped most of that because the majority of the people that I was watching their animals, they stopped all business travel and moved all vacation travel and moved to working at home. So they no longer needed me. A few have had animals pass, and because of COVID, they weren't really sure what was going on in the world, so they did not replace yet. And so they don't need me. And I've had, unfortunately, I've had a few pass on. So, and some from COVID. So I have had a lot of challenges with refinding my purpose. And it has, in some ways, enhanced my cross stitching, and in some ways has hindered my cross stitching. It has hindered it because I never know kind of where I'm going to be. I don't really have a good set schedule. I kind of just have to take anything that comes my way as far as clients goes. I no longer can be picky and choosy. I also, have had to expand the service area. So I'm not always near my things. I've also had to, in the past 2 years, I've had to move twice. And mostly due to the fact that I reside in other people's homes. I don't have the ability health-wise right now to take care of a full place myself. So having renting a room or rooms in someone's house has been the best thing for me. But that's hard to do with COVID because they don't want a stranger living in their home. Because they don't want to increase, the possibility of germs, especially in close proximity. And so I understand. So I've had to move a couple times, which means that my cross stitch again is messed up. I have moved most of it to a storage unit, temperature controlled, but it's not organized because it has been moved in parts and pieces. So at some point, my goal in 2022 is to kind of get it all back together again, organize it, sort it, and get to some of those whips. But that isn't going to happen probably in the first quarter. So that is putting a little bit of a damper on some of the different challenge groups and groups that I wanted to get into. Some of the challenges, something like, magical stitches, where it's a list of 50 some colors of DMC that you stitch in order, which just sounded fabulous to me. But looking through the whips I have access to, I don't have anywhere near enough colors to do that. Something like no new starts, where you do work your whips. You just kind of list all of your whips that you're going to work on, and that would be great, except for I don't have access to all my whips. So I would have to, by the end of this month, have them all gathered together and have pictures of them, which I don't have. So that kind of knocked me out of that one. I'm thinking of trying to find a way to do the 22 and 22, but I don't know yet, because I don't have 22 whips with me, and I don't know which ones I'll be able to pick up as the year goes on. I also know me, that's why I'm not trying to do like the no new starts official, because I must start all the things. It doesn't matter to me if it's in my stash, started or not started. To me, it's stash either way. So if I have one stitch in it, or no stitches in it, or thousands of stitches in it, to me it's all considered the same thing. Because of all this, I have not gotten a planner for this year yet, which I usually do. So I haven't started any of that. I'm super, super behind, and I don't think I'm going to do a traditional planner this year. I might just loose leaf paper and spiral notebooks and just make a go of it that way. Let's see. There's been some really exciting things with my stitching, and some of the challenge groups I have been in that have really motivated me to do some stitching at times when I really don't want to. This summer, I ended up spending over 3 months, actually 4 months, in hospital care and rehab care, nursing home care. And it has completely changed how I look at the medical care that I've received, because I've received good and bad and horrible. I have a long way to go in currently trying to recover a knee. We still really don't know all of what's wrong with it yet. So one of the things that happened is I realized, one, I don't have any friends close by. So when an emergency happens and you end up in the ER and you don't have any stitching with you, it's a really, really horrible thing. Now, it's not like I could do stitching because I had, I went in and presented with stroke symptoms and blood clot symptoms, so there was no stitching. I had IVs everywhere. I was, constantly somebody in poking and prodding on me from one department or another. So for like the first 14 days, I kind of really didn't miss it, because anytime somebody wasn't poking and prodding on me, I tried to get some rest. But after that point, I could only watch so much TV without having something in my hands to do. About that point was my first transfer to a rehab facility. And I had a friend, oh bless her, she came over 100 miles one way to bring me some clothes, because I had no clothes, to bring me crossword or word find kind of thing, and to bring me she brought me one of her cross stitch kits that she had not started. And it was such a blessing, because I needed that, stitching outlet. I was facing some really hard decisions, and it was a rough period, and being able to just kind of lose myself in the floss and in the process of the needle through the fabric helped kind of give my brain time to sort things out. Anyway, that project is a Dimensions kit called Chickadees and Lilacs. And I don't have the cover picture for it. It is somewhere here. But I know I have it with me, but I haven't found it. So it's probably in with my paperwork. But I have a considerable amount done on it, so you might be able to see the general idea. So basically it's trees with lilac flowers, and then 2 chickadees. So I started this in July. So I started up here in the upper left. There is a little bit of negative space here. And of course with dimensions, I'm sorry for all the bad hanging threads. I just don't have a good way to manage them. With dimensions, you have the different places where it's, 1 strand, 2 strand, 3 strand, 4, back stitch, there are some, half stitch or full stitches, and so that gives it the namesake, the dimension and the pattern. So I kind of started here, and then I was working my way across the top. And when I got into this area with a lot of back stitching, I wasn't for back stitching for me, I have to have like a table or something I can lay things out in front of me, so that I can lay the back stitch, threads out, and it isn't something I can do just wrap it up in my hand and stitch. So I kind of skipped all of, which is why I didn't continue going down this way. I kind of like cut across right here and just didn't have all of this. And because I was trying to avoid the back stitching out in a project like this where there is a lot of back stitching and it's all over the place. For me, it's best if I kind of attack a little bit of it as I go. So kind of stitch a large area and then go back and back stitch that area and then stitch another and back stitch. Well, I didn't end up doing that. I ended up kind of going all the way across the top. And I got over to here, which a lot of back stitches needed, and I said, you know what, there's so many colors that are similar that if I don't start doing some of the back stitching, I'm going to get lost on my counting, which kind of did happen, and I had to do some frogging over here, and I had to do some frogging down in this area, and I did end up having to make a correction, like over here on the far left side. So that was kind of like the first big, set of cross stitching. Kind of had to put it down for a little bit, and then when I picked it back up, I decided that I wanted to try and get to like this top of the bird, so I did a little bit more in here, came through here, and right around in here, there's another mistake which I still haven't found. So I'm like, put this on hold, come back over to this side, so I start going down. So this is just kind of where I'm at. The other thing is, because I started in the upper left, I didn't give very much of a margin. I wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay for the bottom of the fabric. So last week I went ahead and stitched down the far left side all the way to the bottom, which means the bottom's going to have a bigger border than the top, which is okay because I think I want to find a alphabet and actually put like chickadees and lilacs if it will fit. I think I actually want to stitch that across the pattern. And down this side, because now my right side border, this is the edge of the pattern, is going to be a little bit wider. I am either going to gift this to my friend who gave it to me, because this was something she had that she wanted to do for herself. So I was thinking of putting her family last name down the side, or a saying, or I would love to turn it into like a pillow, but it is going to be kind of big to do that with. So, but I don't know if she would necessarily want it framed for her wall. When I get closer to finish, maybe I'll just ask her how she wants it, or even if she wants it. But this to me really signifies a lot of what I've gone through, at least half of 2021. I can kind of relate some of what's happened in my world in this piece. So lilacs are one of my favorite flowers, and purple is my favorite color, and I love greens. So this is just a perfect project for me in that aspect. Again, it's chickadees and lilacs from Dimensions. My BAP of focus for the year has been Sailor's Ruin. Excuse me. Most of my full coverage pieces are the type that are usable on Pattern Keeper, so most of them I have on Pattern Keeper. Unfortunately, my Kindle Fire that has, is it Amazon Fire or Kindle Fire? It's the Fire, whatever it's called. That tablet is actually going through some updates right now, so I don't have access to the cover pictures for you. So I don't know the artist, but it is a beautiful siren mermaid, and she's holding a skull, and you have the sunken ship in the lower left-hand corner, and it's huge, and it's blues, and it's gorgeous. And my friend Megan and I, when it first released, we were both like, we have to do this, and we started it together. So this piece is very special to me because I started it with her, and we don't ever get to spend much online time together anymore, so it always makes me miss her a little bit every time I pull it out. But I'm just kind of pulling up the miles of fabric here. I was not looking at the size of it when I chose the count. I was just like, this is the piece I have. It's 14 count Aida. Just go with it. So this thing is going to be probably big enough to be a topper by the time it's done. But I started in the lower left-hand corner and just kind of came up this way because I wanted to get a lot of this sunken ship in. And it is hard to see because it's black and 939 and 823 kind of all woven in together. So it is a little hard to see the actual sunken ship. And then I came across the bottom to about, here. This is like once I'm done, this little bit, page 1 will be done. So I have like a page and a fourth done, maybe? I'll tell you how big this is going to be. So this is starting to get up into the division between the water and the becoming of the mermaid. The other day, I was like, I wonder if this fabric actually is big enough. So I started going across the bottom, and I'm realizing, that this is the 300 stitch mark. I don't have enough because it's like 400 and some wide. So I do have another piece of the same exact count and color fabric. And so I'm just going to have to find out how to attach another piece and keep going. I don't know how to do that yet. I figure that when I get kind of more solid in here where this is a little bit more stable, the fabric will be a little bit more weightier because it'll have the floss on it. It'll be a little bit easier for me to kind of try to figure out how to stitch the other piece of fabric onto it. But I have too many stitches in it to restart it on another piece of fabric. That was what I was going to do. I was like, okay, I'm just going to get, 18 count and, the same size and no fit. But I did not want to throw away how many thousands of stitches I have. It was impossible to pick them back out. I didn't want to cut it and turn that stitch piece into something. That was the idea I had. I was just going to cut off that corner, make it a cover of like a notebook or something, and get another piece of fabric and restart. But I have too much time in it. I have the memory with my friend in it. So I'm just going to somehow make it work. I have this out today. This is the project I'm going to work on for the next couple of days because I've just been missing it, and I really wanted to work on full coverage for a little bit and kind of get away from backstitching, a project that has backstitch in it, and I'm finding out I still need to order some colors. I have a ton of colors, and you never have enough colors. You just never have them all. A wish list would be to get all of the DMC collection, but I just don't see that happening anytime soon. And I'm sorry that there's some ruffling in some papers, because I am disorganized here. So, I think I finished this earlier this year, or the end of last year, but I do not know who the designer is. It was something I found in a stack of old papers. I thought it was just trash, and it was a printed cross-stitch pattern. So it says, "Thank you, brave sailor." And this was to honor the U.S. Military Navy. And so it's a red, white, and blue ribbon. And I'm not sure what I'm going to turn it into. There's a lady that I know that would like it, and so I'm trying to figure out what I can turn it into. So I have a sewing machine, sewing by hand isn't so easy for me, but there's no rush, no time, hurry on it. So it's hanging out here on my fabric. And the next is a whip. This is a picture I found, a little freebie. It's kind of like a sunset over water. So this is kind of the water, and then the sun will be here